just ticked over to 11 o'clock, and we'll let everyone get in and get settled in, and then we'll get started. So welcome to today's session of Coffee and Conversation. As the note on the screen says, the recordings of these sessions will be publicly available on our website and through our YouTube channel. Please feel free to ask questions and make comments as we go along. It is Coffee and Conversation, so that's what we want to have, conversations. Yeah, really looking forward to another good conversation today, and feel free to use the chat as well. So, all right, as we do get started, just like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the various lands where we gather across Queensland and interstate. So we pay respect to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the significant roles that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples play in relation to land, sky and waterways that are used for outdoor activities. I'm in Brisbane, or Meanjin, which is Yagara country. It's a place of the Jagera and Turrbal peoples. If you'd like to, you can pop in the chat the land that you're joining from. Yeah, if you want to do that, that'd be great. As well as the traditional owners, I do like to acknowledge the funding that's provided by the Queensland Government that supports outdoor activities across the state, including funding that allows Outdoors Queensland to do our work. But as well as funding, we also acknowledge the work that various government departments and ministers do in relation to outdoor activities, including sport and recreation, who are in the Department of Tourism, Innovation and Sport. So thanks to them. This is the 8th episode of Coffee and Conversation for 2023. My name's Dom Courtney. I'm the Executive Officer here at Outdoors Queensland. And Mark Squires is my co-host today. A big welcome back to Mark, who returned this week after deliberately trying to make me jealous while he shared photos of his adventures overseas on his long service leave. So welcome back, Mark. It's great to have you back. A big welcome to all members of Outdoors Queensland and others who are joining us. Thanks for joining us today. And to those who are watching it later, nice to have you along. That's future Dom saying that. But as we go along, please ask questions. We're up to episode 76 of the Coffee and Conversation series that we started back in, I think it was March 2020, as a reaction to what was going on with COVID. So it's great to still be bringing people together to discuss topics of interest and developing capacity and capability of outdoor organisations. We've got a quick agenda there. It's mostly about that opportunities section. If you do want to suggest any topics for discussion, please contact us. You can also pop comments in the chat section as well as we go along, or you can contact myself or Mark. We'll quickly zip through a couple of things on the COVID stuff. And I'm so pleased that this is getting smaller and smaller each time we seem to have one of these sessions. But COVID is still out there. So the Queensland government, they've discontinued the traffic light system that was in place, the green, amber and red system about different, I guess, measurements of potential outbreaks. But their website still has the information about what we can do to reduce risk and keep everyone COVID safe. So it's the same messaging that's been there for quite a while, including the whole feeling sick, stay home and get tested message that is still quite prevalent. Some very good news. The Education Queensland COVID rules and protocols for state schools attending camps and excursions, that webpage was updated on the 12th of July, and it's now the wording on the screen. I won't read it out word for word, but all it really says now is you've got to do a risk assessment before you go on activities and take into account infection control measures for any respiratory illnesses. So they're just lumping influenza, respiratory, RSV, I'm going to change that too, and COVID-19. If anyone wants to pronounce that middle word, go for your life. So they're basically putting them together and saying it's a it's an infectious disease. We need to do a risk assessment just like we would for any other infectious disease, which I think is a good move forward from Education Queensland on that space as well. So I just wanted to flag that has been updated as well. All right, moving right along. Outdoors Queensland Awards nominations are open. These awards recognise and reward excellence in the outdoors community across Queensland. It is a celebration of the individuals, organisations, programs, events and activities that actually improve outcomes for participants, clients and our communities. So really strongly encourage you to consider nominating yourself or someone else who's doing really good things in the outdoors. There are categories for everyone, and have a look at the different categories in there. There's more information on the website. Thanks to Mark for sharing those links as we go along. But please have a good hard look at that and consider who you might nominate. Nominations close at the end of this month. So, and then we're also going to have face-to-face dinner again this year. For the first time for a little while, we did 3 lots of the awards online. But this one will be an awards dinner in Brisbane at the end of October. So would love to see as many people there as possible, but also would love to receive as many nominations as possible in the next 2 weeks. So is it 2 weeks today, Mark, that nominations close? What have we got? 25th of August, 3 weeks. No, I can't add up. 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks.
Okay. Maybe I've got my date wrong because I don't think that's the 25th. Anyway, yes, nominations will close, so we need to get nominations. Yeah. All right. Now I'm really pleased to invite our guest to speak to us this morning. So the Australian Bureau of Statistics is reviewing ANZSCO, which is the Australian and New Zealand Standard Classification of Occupations. I had to look that up, but yeah, I've known it as ANZSCO. But Daniel Hughes is joining us from the Australian Bureau of Statistics to let us know more about the review and opportunities to get involved. So I'll just stop my share and hand over to you, Daniel.
Thank you very much. And I've also asked my colleague Runga to join us, mainly because I did a presentation to Outdoors New South Wales ACT a couple of weeks ago and got a couple of difficult questions I couldn't answer, and so I thought better bring Runga into this one so that she can deal with those difficult ones instead.
Welcome, Runga. Thanks for joining us.
So I'm going to try and share my screen, and hopefully now you can see something that says tour guide. Is that visible to you all?
Yes, that's fine, Daniel.
Okay, so I just brought this up just to give you an idea of what ANZSCO is. It's a hierarchy of all the occupations, 1,076 occupations that have been identified in Australia. And this is one of those occupations which is under review at the moment, tour guide. And we'll talk a little bit more about what those various elements there mean as we go along. But just to give you an idea of what an entry for an occupation looks like. But if I come over to my PowerPoint now, and hopefully, yep, there it goes. ANZSCO was published in 2006 based on census data in 2001. So it's out of date. A lot of things are wrong. And so it's currently under review, and the review is occurring full speed at the moment. I'll come back to that information later, but the next screen I wanted to show this one. There are 4 rounds of review. We've had round 1. Round 2 is the one that we're in at the moment, and you can see that it closes on 11th of August, which is remarkably close to the 4th of August. And the last of the what we call focus areas that's there is called tourism services. Now you might be thinking, I'm not sure if this is that relevant to me, but if I can draw your attention to round 3, there towards the bottom, there's one there that's called sports activities, and there's also the first one, accommodation and food services, and there's also arts and recreation. And it could well be that what you're doing might be more relevant to round 3 of the review of ANZSCO than to round 2, and I'll talk a bit more about round 3 as we proceed. Just in case you're thinking, what's the point of having something like ANZSCO, an official collection of all the occupations in Australia? This is the slide that tells you that, and probably the one that people know most about is the skilled migration. So if someone is hoping to get a visa for Australia based on skilled migration, and they say that, well, they've got the qualifications for such and such a job, ANZSCO is the place that the Department of Home Affairs goes to compare that. And so what's put into ANZSCO is actually really important. And for people who, as I say, who are entering Australia through skilled migration, and there's a big push for more skilled migration at the moment from the government because of shortfalls in certain areas, ANZSCO is certainly the place to look there. Going to keep moving, and this is an example of how ANZSCO is as a series of hierarchies, if you like. Down the bottom, you have the occupation as the most specific, most granular level, and then you go up through more generic levels as you proceed up the hierarchy: unit group, minor group, sub-major group, and major group. And I might just do a quick demo of that so that you can see how that works. If I go back to our tour guide here, the 6-digit number tells me this is occupation. So we're down the bottom of the hierarchy at the moment. And I'm going to move over to the left-hand panel here. And tour guide 451412 is here. Now, the next level up the hierarchy is 4514 gallery, museum, and tour guide. So we're getting a little more generic as we go up. And then we go up to 451, 3 digits, and now we're at what we call the minor group level: personal services and travel workers. 45, sports and personal service workers. And then at the very top of this hierarchy, top of the pyramid, is community and personal services workers. And I just show you that just to show you how we are in one bit of the hierarchy when we're down at the occupation level. I'll switch back to here, because the thing that we really need to explain is that the hierarchy is based on what's referred to as skill level. And I should just blow that up. I just need to go back a fraction. Skill level is basically, it's the qualification that you have, or the amount of experience that you have, or the combination of both of those things in order to do a job. And skill level 1, for example, is you would be expected to have a bachelor degree or higher in order to meet that qualification. If it's skill level 2, it would be a diploma or advanced diploma. Skill level 3 would be certificate 4, that's Australian Qualification Framework certificate 4, or perhaps certificate 3 with some years of experience, and so on. I won't spell them all out at the moment, but the hierarchy is organized by skill level. So at one end of the hierarchy, you have skill level 1. So that's the people who have the bachelor degrees or the masters or whatever in order to do their job. And down the other end, you can have skill level 5, where all you need are the compulsory years of schooling in order to do a job. So you might think, well, in tourism, everyone should be together, banded as tourism. But if there are people in tourism who are skill level 1, they might be at a different part of the hierarchy than someone who was at skill level 3 or 4 or whatever. And if need be, I'll come back to skill levels just to spell out exactly what they are, because that's often something that we talk about. But I'm going to keep pushing through. The 4 occupations, the round 2 occupations that are under review at the moment, are the ones that are on screen at the moment. Now, I'll just need to move a panel here so I can see what I'm talking about. You can see the numbers of people that are that were counted in the 2021 census and assigned to each of the occupations. Travel consultant is the term that in 2006, when the first ANZSCO was published, was used. A lot of people are telling me at the moment it should be travel agent. That's the more commonly used term, but that's certainly something that is coming up in this series of reviews. But I thought you'd probably be interested in the next slide, which is showing what's coming up in round 3 in some of those focus areas that I referred to before, which, well, you can read them. I don't have to tell them to you at the moment. you can probably see that bungee jump master, which only has 5 people assigned to that particular category, is probably not going to be recognized as an occupation in its own right, because usually, not always, but usually to be an occupation in your own right, you should have about more than 299 people, so 300 or above to be a validated occupation. There are exceptions to that, and it's a little bit rubbery. So these occupations are going to be coming up for review in probably October, as are these ones. The horse riding coach or instructor is a really useful example for me, because a lot of people say when we talk about tourism, well, gee, there's only 4 occupations there and there possibly should be more. But quite often what you find is that when you think about a tourism business, a lot of the people working in that business might not actually be, their role might not be tourism related. They might be an HR person, for example, or a cleaner, or someone who is who cares for horses, not the person necessarily who is going out on the trail with the people to act as a tour guide and so on. So while it's easy, and I'm quite willing to acknowledge that there probably aren't enough occupations for tourism there, a lot of the occupations that people tell us about, we find, well, actually, that might be more a managerial role, or it might be more a marketing role or something, and it's not necessarily a tourism role. So, and that might be something that we'll discuss as we proceed. But they're the occupations that I thought might be most relevant to you. And of course, what we're really keen to do is to get feedback about the occupations. Now, the 4 tourism occupations, time's running out, but if you think, gee, you haven't left us much time, could you give us a bit of an extension? I think that Runga and I can negotiate something there. But as I say, this might be more relevant to you for the 3rd round of occupations. And the sort of questions that we're really trying to find out are these occupations actually described? Is the information correct? Are there occupations that are emerging in the field that aren't necessarily there now, but are likely to be there when Census 2026 comes around, and that we should be ready to recognise there? And when it says what skills define and differentiate these occupations, that comes back to the skill levels that I was referring to. It also comes back to the things that people do. It's really important for us to try and identify what tasks the different roles include, because if I go back to where I was here, tour guide, it doesn't actually list the tasks that a tour guide does. At the moment, ANZSCO does list tasks, but it's at the next level up, at what we refer to as the unit group level. This unit group is called Gallery, Museum and Tour Guides, and we do have a list of tasks that cover all the occupations within this unit group. Not all of those are applicable to tour guide, and we'd like to come up with a set of tasks that are specific to tour guide or to any of the other occupations. And again, that's something that we're hoping to get your help with. That's a lot of conversation from me at once. I'm going to pause there and ask, are there questions or concerns or issues that I can try and explain better at the moment? Or are you all asleep?
I'm sure we're still here. I can hit you with a question, Daniel, really, and I think it's something that I think has been in there, as far as you said on the use of them, and there was a bit about labour market statistics, I think was one of the usages of the studies, of the stats in there, and the ANZSCO codes. Does that then feed back in for us to say, be able to map how many people work in the outdoors based on the census? We want to make sure people are actually filling in the different occupations as far as the most accurate representation of what they're doing. Is that the challenge there?
Absolutely. I think when I have meetings like this with others, the issue that comes back time and time again is people realize how important it is that you write the right thing in the census, because, you know, my manager's manager, who's worked for the ABS, you know, since Adam was a boy, makes the joke that, or the story that when he used to fill out the census and it came to what's your occupation, he'd just write public servant. Now, that doesn't really tell us anything about whether he's a statistician or he's an HR person or blah, blah, blah. So the more people can represent their occupation or their industry by what they're populating in those fields that refer to your occupation, the more accurate the census is going to be. And this data goes to the quarterly labour reports and things like that. So the more accurate that data is, the more accurate it's going to be right throughout the system.
Yeah. So I guess the follow on from that is, as far as the review goes, the more accurately we can have those occupation codes representing what people are doing, the easier it'll be for them to pick those codes and to describe what they're doing and make sure it all lines up. So I guess that's where the review comes in, isn't it, from our point of view?
Yeah, and people like Runga who are expert coders, they can then look at what the data that's been populated, and if someone puts in an occupation title that we don't really understand what it is, we can then look at, well, what are the tasks that person does, what industry do they work in, and so on, and try and code them correctly to the right job. So yes, the more care people take in populating that part of, well, every part of the census, the better the quality of the data is going to be.
Does anyone have any questions for Daniel about even occupations that you or your team may have, whether how they're covered off in the codes at the moment? Graham, yeah, over to you, mate. Do you want to unmute? Yep.
G'day, Daniel and Runga. I note that there's a new mental health plan for Queensland for the next 5 years that's been released this week, and it calls for community-based mental health work. And the work that my team does is adventure, but in community, in local parks, etc. And our workers are generally of a degree level of training. So we're like your standard outdoor recreation worker who's working at a school camp, but possibly with a slightly higher average standard of education. But we're actually working sort of outside the education space and more in the mental health space. What advice, and given that this plan has come out calling for more of this sort of work and also peer work, which is often less than degree level, but there's a person who has suffered a mental health episode of their own. What advice have you got for us who are in between these two fields about, and knowing that there's going to be more people working in this space over the next few years here and in other states?
Just this morning, I was talking to, have you ever heard of an organization called Checkup? Does that mean anything to you? No. They coordinate a lot of the allied health activity in Queensland, and that includes people who do things like yourself, people who do like music therapy, for example, or art therapy, and it could well be that you might fit into their realm, and that becomes more the allied health realm. And my suggestion is, as well as looking at the occupations that I've just been showing, is have a look up mental health worker, for example, and see if you think to yourself, well, hang on, I'd like to comment on that, because they're also under review at the moment. Allied health is under review. And you might think, well, they're not really including what we're doing here, but it would be good if they did. And that's the sort of thing that would be good to get your feedback on. So when you say you fit between the gaps, it could well be that you actually don't fit between the gaps. You address both. You might be working in the mental health area. You might be also working in the outdoor physical area, and what you say applies to both fields. But that would be my recommendation. And certainly the Allied Health Professionals Association, which covers all the allied health occupations in Australia, might be someone worth talking to as well. But yeah, I would certainly, first thing, look up, just go to ANZSCO, and I can send you all the information, and just search on mental health and see what you find there, and see if you think, gee, I don't really think they're catering for us, then let us know.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks very much, Daniel. It's a good question, Graham. And I think that goes to the question that you had on the screen earlier as well. Daniel, was one of the emerging jobs that you need to know about. So, and I think that's probably one of them, Graham, from your space, the Shifting Minds report that was released. Yeah, and that's not just in Queensland too, that's across the country. I mean, sorry, Shifting Minds is just a Queensland document, but it is an emerging career more and more. Would like it to be emerged, but it is emerging, I think.
Well,
So, you know.
Just this morning I was talking to some Indigenous people about another occupation, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander health worker, and they said the biggest emerging occupation they have is the social emotional well-being carers, and so it's a huge field, you know, across so many occupations, and that's what's really coming through this review.
Right, thanks, Daniel. Does anyone else have a question for Daniel?
I was just going to say there, Dom, too, just similarly to Graham, we work in that space in the outdoors with mental health and caring for country. Big push from the government this year is a lot of that tourism for Aboriginal traditional owners, and just in that space of, yeah, wondering where that fitted, because a lot of traditional owner groups up this way, yeah, right in that tourism side of it now, and on Cubby country.
Well, it's interesting because in the first round of reviews, there was an occupation called park ranger, and that actually, through the review process, got split into park ranger and an Indigenous park ranger, or Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander park ranger, because they, you know, determined that there was a distinction between the two, and that there was a specific set of skills and tasks that Indigenous park rangers do that weren't really catered for in the previous classification. So this might be another example, say under tour guides or tour operators, which is another one of the occupations where we need to make sure that we're capturing that difference between what we might traditionally have called a tour guide or a tour operator, and what is an Indigenous tour operator or tour guide. And this is the chance for us to get that information to put that into the classification.
Right, thanks, Daniel. Do we have any other questions? Anyone with the hand up? Ronga, did you want to add anything to the information that Daniel's given us? You don't have to.
Now she's going to tell you everything I said was wrong. No, she's not saying anything.
No worries.
No,
all right. Thank you so much for joining us today, both of you, and yeah, really appreciate it. It is an important piece of work. I think, you know, that if we can contribute and make sure that you know, that the information that the census is getting is accurate and reflects our industry, it's going to be good for the industry and good for all the operators. So yeah, really appreciate your time today, and thanks for joining us. Mark shared the link to the website for the consultation already.
Thank you very much.
If there's any other information that we can share, we'll put in a submission as well. But if anyone else wants to go on there and have a look, yeah, please do. And yeah, that'd be great. If you've got anything else you need that we can share, Daniel, please just forward it through to me. You've got my email address.
Yeah, I'll send some stuff through this morning. Thank you very much.
No, thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. And I'm hoping my share has just started working again. Yep, awesome. The even better news is I managed to get through that without making any jokes about statistics. So I think Mark would be happy about that. So yeah, I was going to ask him the odds of different things, but I thought I'd better not. So moving right along. Another opportunity to provide input to a government document. This one's the Queensland Government Southeast Queensland Regional Plan, and we're outdoors Queensland, but I wanted to flag this because about 70% of the population does live in Southeast Queensland. Actually, it says on the screen there, 72.6 to be exact. And 1 in 7 Australians lives in Southeast Queensland is the other stat they've got there on the screen. So the draft Shaping SEQ 2023 update, the government's doing an update at the moment. So it's actually all about understanding the key strategies in the plan that was released back in 2017. So there are they want comments on the new and updated strategies that are in there that are about enhancing the Southeast Queensland community. It says on the website that this final version of it will be released by the end of this year. There's quite a few different ways you can have comment on it. You can actually go to an online consultation session. You can talk to one of the planners online. You've got to book a spot for that. There are going to be in-person community sessions in council areas. And then there's also, you can make a submission online. So the key piece of this is this plan dictates or guides how councils then do their plans. So it's an important underlying document that controls land use, etc., right across Southeast Queensland. So it is an important piece of work. So we will put a submission in, but also encourage others. The submissions close on the 20th of September. So we've got a little bit of time. I just wanted to flag that one is up for review right now. So if there's any questions on this as we go along, please just say, put your hand up or sing out. Next one was just a reflection. I went along to the final NatCORR National Incident Response Workshop on Friday last week. They had 10 workshops across the country in West Australia, New South Wales, ACT, Victoria, and of course Queensland, and about 170 attendees. And I found a really valuable workshop all about understanding incident response and doing it better. Claire Dallett from Risk Resolve, Deb Ajango from Safety Ed in Canada, and also Sonia Saveski from Saveski Consulting. And a big thanks to NatCORR for organising the workshops. But a big part of that is thanks to everyone who attended and those who made it available to other people to attend, because we do need to keep taking advantage of opportunities like that. And I should say, so NatCORR is hosted by Outward Bound Australia, who were behind organising those workshops. So a big thank you to them for that. Next one, we discussed last session that August is Queensland Walks Month. And believe it or not, August has already started. I went along to the launch of the Queensland Walks Month on Tuesday, which was at South Bank here in Brisbane. So we went for a stroll through South Bank Parklands, which was quite pleasant on a Brisbane, we pretend is a winter's morning. I understand that the Queensland Walks team are up in Cairns today. They're doing a walk up there and doing some work there about Queensland Walks Month. And then there's also a string of walks organised across the state and some bushwalks in Redlands that Bushwalking Queensland have organised. So thanks to Bushwalking Queensland for doing that. There's plenty more information on the website about Queensland Walks Month and ways to be involved. Sport and Rec funding from Queensland Sport and Rec. There's a couple of programs open at the moment. They're Fair Play vouchers and also the Emerging Athlete Pathways programs open. We've discussed them previously. I just wanted to flag that they're still happening. So just a tip too, if you're looking at any of those programs, it's always worth contacting the local sport and rec officials. They're very helpful people and they're always happy to have a conversation about their programs or other opportunities. So they're very much worth engaging with and having a conversation in that space. This one, Brisbane City Council just this week have released the final concept plan for mountain biking at Mount Coot-tha Reserve. So it's part of the Brisbane off-road cycling strategy that was released a little while back. We've spoken about this plan a few times, probably last year. I don't think we've spoken about it a lot this year, but we're engaged with Brisbane City Council in relation to the concept plan. I've put the key outcomes that they've listed in the final plan up on the screen there. There's a summary of feedback on the draft concept plan in the plan that was released. The good thing about some of this is some of the changes that they're making, I guess, in there as a result of some of the feedback. It's sort of looking at retaining a couple of trails that had been in the draft plan that may not have been retained. So there's some stuff in there that it does show the value in providing feedback into these processes. Yeah, Mark's just shared the link to that one as well as a link to the plan from our website. And I have that link on the screen, which is probably take up all the memory in the computer just to save that and copy it across. It's a little bit long, that Brisbane City Council link, but yeah. All right, if there's any questions on these ones, I know that there's been a lot of work in the mountain bike space to engage with Brisbane around that and make sure that that plan is effective and works for mountain bike riding, but also for walking and horse riding in those spaces and other activities like bird watching at Mount Coot-tha. This one, the platy-project, is actually an opportunity that just for citizen science. So the Australian Conservation Foundation have got this platypus spotting project where they encourage people to check out their online map of possible or known platypus habitat and go out and report any platypus sightings so they get a better understanding of the habitat of platypus across the country. So that's happening in September, but they're pushing people to get involved now in that project. So really encourage you to have a look at that and maybe share that with other people who you think might be interested. There's another one coming up next week, but I haven't got the link to, unfortunately. I'll just tell you about it. Is the what's your favorite animal sound? They did it last year in the National Science Week for what was Australia's favorite tree, and they had an online poll. And this time you can go online and you can pick what's your favorite sound that an animal makes, and they've got a few different animals listed there, including things like the curlew, some fairly unusual sounds. They've got the magpie singing, those sort of ones, but they've got some unusual ones. They've got the sound of a male koala on there as what might be your favorite sound. And they're asking people to put in a comment on that. And it's about increasing awareness of wildlife and science, I guess, but also about, people's engagement with the natural spaces. So I think it's worth having a look at. So the Platypus Project is a similar thing about increasing the knowledge about where people have seen a platypus. This one's a little bit tinged with sadness, but the Nature Play Queensland program, Outdoors Queensland have been running that since 2014, and it's been a key project for us and for CORF when we were CORF before 2020. And it's all about making outdoor play a normal part of childhood for Queensland children. Our license to deliver Nature Play Queensland actually expired Monday this week, so 31st of July. But we're working with Nature Play WA, who is the licensor, and another organisation about handover of the program, and there'll be some more information on that coming soon. So I just wanted to flag that we won't be running the Nature Play program into the future, but we'll certainly work with the new organisation once they're up and running and they've got the license to make sure that continues to achieve its goal of getting more kids playing outdoors and loving the outdoors and becoming lifetime outdoor enthusiasts and being part of this wonderful world of the outdoors. So that's where that one's at. I just wanted to flag it because it has happened this week, but you may not see any changes dramatically immediately to the Nature Play space in Queensland, but over time I'm sure that the new organisation, they might take it in some different directions or put their own stamp on the Nature Play program. So yeah, I just wanted to flag that one as well. And thanks Mark for sharing the Aussie animal sound, the ABC link to that one. Thank you, mate. All right. This one I already flagged earlier. It's just a reminder. The Queensland Outdoor Census survey that closed on Monday, the 31st of July as well. And I just it's a big thank you really to everyone who completed the Queensland Outdoor Census survey during July. We've had, haven't got the final numbers yet, but we've had really positive responses to the survey. The next job's going to be the analysis and working out what all the data means and sharing that with the industry, but particularly with the people who provided the information. So once we have it, we will share it widely, and really appreciate that people who took the time to fill in the survey. The wildness of at the moment, from using SurveyMonkey to that survey, we got some stats where it actually on average took just under 6 minutes for people to fill the survey in. So, and those 6 minutes can make a real difference once we tabulate the responses right across the state of different operators, and we look at it right across the outdoors generally. And it's been quite diverse as far as the locations where people are who filled the survey in, the different types of organisations. It's been really good to have that quite representative sample of what the outdoors is and what we do, and importantly, how many people do it, whether they're in volunteer roles or paid roles. It's been really great to have that information provided, and we'll certainly make the most of it. So a big thank you to everyone who filled it in, and we'll be providing some more information because it's in the coming soon department. So, but we will get that out there. So, yeah. This one is purely a reminder of the awards, which I mentioned earlier, because I think I'm going to start and stop with this one. The award nominations, please check it out. It's a valuable process. It's something that we do really enjoy championing. That I guess we're championing the fact that we have so many champions across Queensland doing wonderful things in the outdoors, and that's a big part of what we do. It's also a way to build capacity of the sector, that we believe that excellence should be recognised and should be celebrated. So we are proud to continue to bring the awards to the industry and really encourage nominations. And you can nominate yourself or you can nominate other people. So yeah, please jump on that one. And I have said this before, but I'm not a judge, and I'm happy not to be a judge of the awards. But what I like is as many nominations as possible, because that makes the judge's decision as difficult as possible. And it can be a really difficult decision for them to work out who are going to be the finalists and who's going to win the different awards. So yeah, strongly encourage as many nominations as possible. So if you know anyone who's doing great things, has been doing great things in the outdoors, it's worth looking at the nominations process. And it's a pretty simple process to do that. If you need any extra information, you can always contact myself or Mark as well. Did you want to say something, Mark, or I saw you?
No, just yeah, give me a call, ask me questions. Always happy to help.
Thank you, mate.
Very, very keen to see nominations coming in. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, mate. Oh, Runga's back. I'm not sure why. All right. That pretty much brings us to the end. Does anyone have any other topics to discuss? Points that we wanted to talk about? I don't think we've got anyone from inside the outhouse here today. But if there's any other topics, I've got that little list there, the ANZSCO review, obviously, Queensland Walks Month reminder, and also our resources in general. So our website, our e-bulletins and our social media, if you've subscribed and followed to those, good on you. Just a reminder, there is a lot of information there on our website for your access, for you to access. So are there any other topics or questions that wanted to discuss? No. Welcome, Jeff. I went along to the Scouts AGM, so I was pleased to go along to the AGM last Thursday night, Jeff. It was another great event for Scouts. So thank you for having me there.
Good to see you, Dom.
I had a different Thursday evening last night. I went from being a guest at the Scouts AGM last Thursday to a guest at the FIFA World Cup last night, and I went to see a 1-1 draw between Germany and Korea. So it's been an unusual week for me to go to those two different things. So yeah. Well, if we don't have any other topics, we might finish up there and everyone gets a few minutes back on their Friday. I don't think anyone's going to complain. Our next session is the 1st of September from 11 o'clock. A big thank you to all of the Outdoors Queensland members, volunteers and staff who contribute to what we do. And I'll just sign off with Be Kind. Oh yeah, sorry. Was there another one? No. All right, we'll sign off there. Please be kind to the planet, be kind to other people, and be kind to yourselves. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Dom.
Thanks, Jeff.
See you, folks.
Bye all. Thanks, Mark.
No worries, Dom. Catch you soon.
See you, mate.